Welcome to Magic Beyond the Books. Today we're talking about everybody's favorite gambler, Ludovic Bagman. I'm Calen.
And I'm Rene. Warning, there are spoilers for all 7 Harry Potter books in this episode and every episode. So this is your official spoiler warning. Let's get into it.
So Ludo Bagman, he fits your like typical jock, I feel like post high school star player jock. I guess.
Yes. The charismatic, ex-professional sportsman, you know, that now has a gambling problem. We know these people.
Yeah, we know there's many people like that you probably know one yourself if you're listening to this podcast. And if you don't know them, then get your 1-800-GAMBLER. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, so Ludo Bagman, if you've just watched the movies, you might be thinking, who the heck is this? He's the main red herring for book 4, and he's totally excluded from the movies, but is a huge part of the storyline for the 4th book, the Goblet of Fire book.
He's a pretty not like crucial character. He's a guy to keep your eye on, essentially. He's not necessarily like a main plot point, but he's definitely one of the more prominent side characters in the book. He's always, and we should I guess give him a little bit of backstory, but he's always just sort of like hanging around. I mean, he's the guy that if you only watch the movies, he plays the part of what Barty Crouch Sr. plays in the movies, where he's sort of the orchestrator of the games. He also is instead of Cornelius Fudge at the Quidditch tournament, the Quidditch World Cup, he is the announcer. He does the, booming voice announcing. He's who's the kid in Gryffindor that does the announcing at the Quidditch matches, and he's super biased.
Yeah, he's Lee Jordan in the adult world, basically. So he does a lot of he does a lot of the announcing. He announces for the Quidditch World Cup, and he does a little bit of announcing and judging for the Triwizard Tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess how he got into this position, how he got into this we're trashing this guy. We're like, oh, he's a has-been ex-athlete, gambler, no good degenerate.
No, I actually like Ludo.
Okay.
Or I feel like he's just Mr. Charisma. He's just like got a good mood, good attitude all the time. He's got his problems, but he's a fun time.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But how he got into this position was he was a successful Quidditch player for the Wimbourne Wasps. I believe he was a beater.
Yes.
He was a beater. So I feel like he's a bigger guy. He's like he's got some girth to him. Because you got to be a beater. You got to be like that for a beater.
Yeah. So there's 2 beaters for every Quidditch team. They carry bats to hit the bludgers away from their team and towards the opposing team. Mm-hmm. I looked up a little bit on them, on beaters just in general, because I feel like this really gives you a sense of who Ludo is and who he was as a player, because that's like basically half of his personality. It's that and gambling, right?
Yep.
So beaters, they guard, like I said, they guard the team from the bludgers and hit those towards the opposing players. Bludgers started out as flying rocks, but then they were cracked by bats all the time. So there was just like flying rock debris.
Asteroids.
Yeah. So that didn't work out so well. So then they changed them, and the modern day bludgers are made of iron.
Oof.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. That's crazy. Iron?
Right? They're 10 inches in diameter, which is about the size of an NBA basketball.
Oh my God.
They're made of iron. So you do not want to get hit by these.
That's like dead.
Yes, I know. It's insane. I don't know how this is allowed. So in the bludgers chase players at random. They just attack whichever player is closest to them. So it doesn't, it hits people indiscriminately as far as teams go.
Mm-hmm. I feel like in the movies they're like leather balls. They're like a lacrosse ball.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought the movies they looked like they were leather, or maybe they're iron and there's like kind of leather around them. But
Gotta
yeah.
be some padding. An iron ball, a 10-inch iron ball, to add.
Imagine someone throwing a basketball at you, but instead of being bouncy, it's just straight iron.
How heavy is that? That's got to be like at least 50 to 60 pounds.
Yeah. People who have been hit by flying iron balls in some context, right in if you can.
If you've gotten hit by a 10-inch iron ball, right into us, because you're probably a modern medical miracle if you've got hit by but that's a cannonball. And cannonballs are small compared to that. Cannonballs are not that big when you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah, but go on. Sorry, I got you off topic there.
No. That's so what you can picture is, think about someone who is able to hit those things and kind of take the brunt of the force of that. It's going to be, beaters tend to be men or wizards versus witches, though most professional Quidditch teams are co-ed. So wizards and witches. Same with we see it like at Hogwarts, they're co-ed teams, but typically you're going to see men in the position of the beater position, which throughout the whole Harry Potter books, all the Gryffindor beaters, and I think some of the other teams too, I think we only ever see them as men. They're on, like I said, they're on defense. They're not goal scorers, so they're gonna be very strong, and they have to be really good at balance because they're often taking both hands off of their broom to swing their bat at this heavy ball.
I feel like these are if you take out like being nimble, I feel like these guys are the best, or these players are the best, probably all around athlete on the Quidditch field, just because they are so big. They have to like you said, withstand that amount of like force that that they have to put up with the beaters first of all, and then they have to be athletic enough with enough balance and enough hand-eye coordination to put it all together. So they're definitely the most, I would say, the most athletic types on the field.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be your strongest players, probably the most muscular, and they have to have that balance element and the ability to basically hit and direct a bludger towards the people they want to hit it towards. So they've got to have some level of accuracy there. They're guiding those bludgers to the place they want to be, and running around and stopping it when it's heading in the direction of one of their team members.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, he's a big guy. He's a big imposing guy, I think.
Yes. Even though he's a little bit, obviously in this, when we meet him, he's a little bit older, but you can picture kind of like where he probably was in his heyday.
Yeah, I mean, he's right now he's described as an overgrown schoolboy. Like his physical description is an overgrown schoolboy. He definitely, I feel like he definitely would be the typical like stopped. He kind of, it's like you are training you're training as an athlete, and you're eating a lot of food, and you're trying to keep on the weight, you're trying to stay in game shape, and then you stop playing, but then you stop doing all that physical activity, training, stuff like that, but then you still have that diet, and then you struggle with the gaining weight, stuff like that. So it definitely seems like one of those situations.
Yeah, and now he has, a desk job, right? Looking at the ministry. He's not, like you said, he's not getting that like physical exercise. It seems like his job does require him to kind of move around. Like we talked about, he does some announcing, he goes to some events. So he's got some level of physical activity, but not obviously the level of like being a professional athlete. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, so he was a Quidditch player. He was a pretty good Quidditch player. Which kind of transitions into our next little blurb about him. He possibly passed information to a Death Eater, probably unknowingly, but some people think he was more with it in that circumstance. Kind of knew maybe didn't know a ton about what was going on, but there's people who think he knew more than he was letting on. But he was eventually put on trial for passing information to a Death Eater, Augustus Rookwood, who was a friend of his father. And then he claimed that he didn't know that he was a Death Eater, which I guess you could see, family friend, talking to your family friend, but, he was put on trial, and then he was let off, to the, I guess, expense of Barty Crouch, who wanted to put him in Azkaban, with, quite a bit. Just because Barty Crouch was he was aggressive. He was a very aggressive, I guess, prosecutor, you could say, a very, very aggressive prosecutor, for Death Eaters and anybody associated with them.
Barty Crouch Sr. is the one that sent Sirius Black to jail without a trial.
Also his own son.
With a trial, but also sent his own son to jail. He let Aurors use the unforgivable curses on Death Eaters. He was just like, he wanted to put Barty Crouch, or not Barty Crouch. He wanted to put Ludo Bagman in jail so bad, but Ludo, back in his heyday, he was too handsome.
Yeah, and apparently even at the trial, people were like saying, "Hey, you're a good player back in the day," like even after he got let off, they were like, "Yeah, you're a good player. I used to watch you," or whatever. So fans in the crowd kind of going to his benefit a little bit. But yeah, so he was cleared of all charges, and then he was able to kind of leverage his playing career, his sort of reputation as a good Quidditch player, to become the head of the Department of Magical Games and Sport, which eventually put him into this position that he's in now, in the Goblet of Fire, where we sort of first meet him orchestrating and putting on the Quidditch World Cup.
Yeah. I would, he passed that. He says that he was chatting up Rookwood to try to get a job at the ministry when we hear, that's what we hear about during his trial. So I guess that worked, or something worked, or just people were fans of him, and he just was able to leverage his retirement from sports into working in the Department of Magical Games and Sports, and then becoming department head by the time we meet him. Yeah,
this is the typical pathway of a, ex-athlete.
Ex-athlete, exactly. Yeah. And, becomes an announcer. Yeah, this
high school quarterback, high school star, high school, whatever, homecoming king. You say whatever you want to say about his he peaked in high school kind of vibes, and then he becomes like the high school athletic director or something like that, and you just see him around school all the time. You see like pictures of him as a young man, and like pictures like of him getting awards, and then you see him like super washed up, like next, painting the field or whatever.
This is Victor Crumb's future.
Yes. Yeah. Victor Crumb plus 20, 30 years is this guy, is Ludo Bagman.
So I guess at some point while he was working for the ministry, or I'm not sure exactly the timeline here, but he becomes friendly with Arthur Weasley, and Arthur Weasley helps Ludo's brother Otto out of some trouble. I guess he was messing with a lawnmower. A lawnmower had unnatural powers, which is a Muggle object, and you're not supposed to be like messing with those. But Arthur Weasley got him off, and I guess that happened, or they were friends before or something, or that happened and they became friends. But basically, Arthur and Ludo become kind of friendly, and that's how Arthur Weasley gets a bunch of tickets to the Quidditch World Cup, as Ludo gets those for him.
Yeah. So you sort of start to see a little bit of the it's not necessarily like corrupt, but he's willing to do favors, willing to kind of wheel and deal, willing to kind of do some stuff to kind of like get what he wants done, get his guy off a little bit. But yeah, so they go to the World Cup. We're at the World Cup. He's doing his announcing, and actually before we kind of get a glimpse at his gambling, not necessarily an addiction quite yet, because he's just, at that point, he's just kind of like going back and forth with Fred and George. They're just talking, razzing each other a little bit, saying, I think this is going to happen. I think X, Y, Z is going to happen. Fred and George obviously are just putting together a parlay, trying to make it big. But yeah, so you kind of get a glimpse into that too, where they're putting together a gambling or a wager on the Quidditch match.
Yeah, what do you call it? He seems to be taking bets from different people, and then he has this ledger of all these different people's bets that he has with them and what they're gambling.
Yeah, he is a bookmaker essentially.
Okay.
Like where he's accepting bets and saying, "Okay, I'll give you these odds or whatever. I'll give you 2-1 odds or something like that. That's going to happen." Because I think the thing that they suggest to bet on is like it's kind of wild what they put the money on, because they say Ireland's going to win, but Crumb is going to catch the snitch.
Mm-hmm.
The wager they put together is crazy, because the odds of a Quidditch team winning but not catching the snitch is kind of wild. Like, you have to be up by a ton of points. You have to be up by 150 points at least, which is exactly what ends up happening. But to do that is a pretty wild wager, especially when they put that much money on it, right? They put like 37 galleons, which I think I looked it up. It's like, that'd be like $300 for a high school kid or whatever the equivalent would be.
Yeah, Fred and George bet basically their life savings bet on a crazy bet.
Yeah.
But we hear of other bets that people give Ludo, like on like the length of the match, or like I think people might be betting specific points or just the winner. So there's lots of things that people are like kind of putting in and betting on, like your typical sports betting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we learned that he's a bookmaker. I don't know how many bets he's taken. He must be taking a lot of bets to be in that. And by the end of the book, you kind of see that he's put himself in a bad spot where has no money left. And he's given Fred and George leprechaun gold to pay them out, and then they figure out that it just disappears.
It's like those little like chocolate candies that are like made to look like coins, but they're not really money.
Yeah. And that's better. At least you get some chocolate out of it
True.
True. But yeah, so he's doing, so we got to get a glimpse early on, and then he kind of, the gambling addiction kind of like rears its ugly head a little bit more as the story goes on with Ludo. Like during the Triwizard Tournament, he's trying to help Harry out a little bit. Harry kind of sees it as like, oh yeah, this guy's kind of like just helping me. It's kind of unfair, but whatever. He must be just a nice guy. Yeah,
Harry should have been reporting him.
Yeah.
Like, he always hears these things and he thinks that's weird, and then goes to Ron and Hermione and tells them, like, what? Like, they never report anything. They just talk about it amongst themselves.
Yeah, no, it's funny how they, like, those three, you said it the other day, it just always seems to be these three getting into trouble, but like they bring it upon themselves. They're not telling anybody. They're not telling anybody anything that's going on.
Exactly. They just talk about it ad nauseum, but then never like do anything to solve this problem. Like, report it to someone, You could tell Dumbledore. You could tell Barty Crouch. Barty Crouch would be all up over that. He loves.
Oh
rules.
Yeah. Barty Crouch at this point would probably be incapacitated to some extent, because he's under.
Maybe at that point. Yeah.
Isn't he under the Imperio charm or Imperious charm or whatever?
Yeah, he ends up kind of being like controlled by Voldemort. So maybe, but even like early on, it seems like he's always helping them. And Barty Crouch is there in the beginning. It seems like there was some time to tell someone.
He does try. Yeah, he does try to help him out in the first task, like immediately. Like, doesn't even see like how it's gonna go. Because I think at the end you figure out that he put. I don't know if was it after the first task or before the first task that he makes this wager with the goblins?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good point because I think they see him with the goblins. I think that's after the first task. I'm trying to remember when they see him in the Three Broomsticks talking to the goblins. It's either after the first task or after Ludo finds out that Harry's name gets selected. He realizes basically that's his way to pay back all his debts from the Quidditch World Cup that he has to the goblins. Because he basically has no money after the Quidditch World Cup to pay anybody back. And the goblins are coming after him. So he decides he'll make a bet for Harry to win the Triwizard Tournament, and then hoping that he'll win his money back, and then he'll be able to pay the goblins off, and then won't have that issue.
Yeah, which I wonder what those odds were, because he's the Harry is not even supposed to be in the tournament.
Yeah, normally the Triwizard Tournament is not age restricted, but with bringing it back, they decided to restrict it to only overage wizards, which would be 17 and older. So Harry's 14 at the time, competing against 17, 18-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and he so he doesn't know as much magic. Maybe we can discuss this, but I feel like if he didn't have the help that he had, he would not win this Triwizard Tournament.
Not at all. You would be close. I don't know if Barty Crouch Jr. or Voldemort or whoever. I think we just keep coming back to this where Harry, he's a good guy. He's a great guy, but he didn't ask for any of this. He's not training to be this super duper awesome wizard. He's just along for the ride. He's honestly, I feel bad for him because he's not a superstar by any means. He's a good guy. He's not killing it in his classes. He's a good Quidditch player. That's essentially all that's what he's really, really good at. And then he's endearing to his friends, and he's loyal. And then
he's got a little bit of
and he's really good at Expelliarmus. He's really good at Expelliarmus.
He loves that spell. He's got maybe a little bit above average skill at defense against the dark arts. He's a straight A student at defense against the dark arts. Let's just say that. So he's
he's
got a little bit more, but yeah. But to your point, he's a Quidditch bro, and he's maybe he uses Expelliarmus.
Yeah,
that's all he's really got going for him.
I feel but he has good athletic ability where defensive against the dark arts, you have to be quick. You have to be quick thinking. I guess you need hand-eye coordination to cast spells quick. I didn't know this, but I'm sure this will be duh, Calen, you're a newbie to the Harry Potter world, but all of the spells have different motions that you have to do for them. They have unique motions. So you have to remember all of those. You have to, be on it with the,
quick on your feet.
Yeah, you have to be quick on your feet. So I could see Harry being good at that. But when it comes to the actual book side, he's let's be honest, he's not there. He's not. He's no Hermione Granger. He's not the best. He's not the most studious person. But getting back to what you said, he definitely would not have been anywhere at this. And nothing against him. He's not even supposed to be here.
Yeah, he's 14. Yeah, it's just he's just not there yet for these challenges.
Yeah. And they have to teach him Accio, or kind of help him along a little bit. Even before you realize that it's going to be a crucial thing, he can't really do it or whatever in Flitwick's class.
Even without accepting any of Ludo Bagman's help, he still gets so much help with what to do for the first task, and then the gillyweed on the second task, and then basically almost everything being pushed out of his way in the third task. So there's just no way he would have won without all that assistance.
Honestly, he would have died. If they didn't help him, or if BCJ Barty Crouch Jr. doesn't help him, he's pretty up a creek with no paddle.
Yeah. Well, it seems like in the movies, it seems like they make the challenges out to be anyone could die at any minute, but in the books they talk about Medi wizards being on hand and people being ready and them controlling some of the situation. So I don't know if he would have died, but yeah, he wouldn't. He
But I
wouldn't have
feel
done
like
well.
how many wizards? Like it's a dragon, and that thing can shoot fire. Like do you have like a magic all of the wizards have their things out ready to go. If Harry is just like, are they going to step in if Harry looks like he's about to get toasted? You know,
you're underestimating the skill set of Charlie Weasley. He's ready to go. He knows dragon. He's a dragon charmer.
I guess you could, but I don't know. I think without the help, if he went in there without the plan of the broom, I think he's toast, like literal toast in that scenario. Because I mean, even more talented wizards like Victor and even Cedric's method was stupid. He just made a dog. That was kind of dumb.
Yeah. I think.
Look over here.
What does Fleur do for that challenge again?
I can't remember.
One of them does the spell on the eyes. I think that was Victor.
Yeah, one of them does conjunctivitis. That's the actual spell. That's like actual like disease or inflammation of your.
That's pink eye.
Yeah, exactly. They gave
everyone out there with kids. Yeah, that's pink eye.
They farted on the dragon's pillow.
Oh yeah,
classic Victor.
Classic Victor. Victor probably he got the short end of the stick. Maybe Victor would have won if Harry didn't get all that assistance.
Yeah.
It's Victor or Cedric, probably.
I like this little thought experiment we're doing. We're like fake champion, didn't deserve it, shouldn't have ever been there. Cakewalk to the championship.
I know. I mean,
which he did. I mean,
let's just talk about it. Like,
truthful.
Victor deserved better. Victor, this pro athlete, 17 years old. He's killing it in life. Mm-hmm. He's, he knew to do the conjunction junction spell.
What's your function?
What's your function spell on the dragon?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't talk much because he only talks when he needs to say something. And
Hermione.
Justice for Victor.
Yeah, justice for Victor, the rightful champion.
The rightful champion.
Yeah, but I will say, I mean, the one, the one thing, I mean, Harry does prove his worth, and we're getting off the Ludo Bagman track. But I will say this last thing about Victor. Harry has to tell him not to bite somebody's leg off as he's like going down into the thing, and he's like trying to cut everybody free. And Harry realizes that he has a giant shark's head, and if he tries to bite the rope or whatever, he's going to bite somebody's actual limb. So he knowingly or very aptly gives him the rock or whatever, the sharp rock. So Victor, Victor deserves minus for that. But I agree, he probably takes it home if everything's equal.
Yeah, but Victor bite first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Not the best move there on task number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, back to Ludo.
Yeah, so Ludo, so they get through the Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah, he just, he does the announcing. He's one of the judges, and he obviously uses that, which again, this is where it gets corrupt. He's gambling on something that he's a judge of, so he can influence. So he's kind of willing to wheel and deal, even if it's not exactly fair. But yeah, anything to basically get himself out of this crippling debt. So at the end of the third task of the Triwizard Tournament, then Ludo Bagman goes on the run because he can't pay off his debts, and that's pretty much the last we see of him, and that's kind of the end of his journey.
Yeah. And I mean, he does come back a little bit later. Maybe I shouldn't say a little bit, but a lot of it later. He goes into hiding, I guess. Maybe changes his name. Maybe shaves his head. Grows a mustache, maybe. But he comes back into focus, or at least in the wiki that I read. He writes something on the Daily Prophet covering another Quidditch World Cup, where he gives his opinions on the teams, gives his opinions on like who's going to win, and then of course the lines on the game. You know, what he thinks is good value, whatever. So once a gambler, always a gambler.
Nice.
Yeah. So but that about does it for Ludo. At least is his character arc, his exploits.
So, do you want to talk about your favorite and least favorite parts about Ludo, or give him a rank?
Yeah. So I'll do his. So I don't really have a favorite part. I feel like you have a little bit more of a optimistic look of Ludo. Like I think he's obviously. I feel like he would be a good hang. He'd be a good good guy to have a beer with. But at least what he's, I guess, portrayed as in the book, I feel like he's living in the past. You know, he's just kind of like always trying to use his previous his talent as a Quidditch player, or his success as a Quidditch player, to kind of like as an in. He never like develops himself past that. You know, he finishes his career as a Quidditch player, and then he never like improves himself from then on. You know, he just kind of like lives like that. So I guess that would be my least favorite part. I feel like he's sort of uninteresting in a way where he's very base level. He was probably had a natural ability as a Quidditch player, and then he didn't ever add any other tools to his tool belt. So like that in that way, I feel like he's uninteresting. And I feel like he has quite a bit of, maybe not arrogance, but like he has an air of like, yeah, that was good enough. You know, I should, you know, I don't need to do anything more. I don't need to be better at all. I can just kind of live out my life like this. So I get that was a lot, but I would say just he's not. I think my least favorite part of him, he's just not that interesting of a character to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of depth.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. And I think, you know, for stuff, I kind of wrote best and worst parts about him. And under the worst or least favorite parts, I agree. He does seem kind of dumb, right? Like maybe he has skills as far as the Quidditch goes, but, you know, he potentially passes information to Death Eaters unknowingly, like doesn't seem to kind of think things through. And doesn't do a great job of like covering up that he's cheating, and with the whole Triwizard Tournament, like he basically just flat out offers Harry help at any turn.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he seems like he's a Nepo baby or some level of that, you know, like just getting all of his things that he's gotten in life. It seems like he's just used his connections and his skill as a Quidditch player versus, you know, trying to actually do a good job. Yeah. Like he doesn't, when Bertha Jorkins goes missing, she's one of his workers in his department, and he doesn't look for her for like months. Yeah.
He's like, whatever. She's probably lost. She's probably lost in the forest. You know, she'll find it. She'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Little old lady just lost or whatever. But yeah. And I feel like even though he tries to offer his help to Harry, he's not. I feel like a more charismatic person in that situation would be able to give Harry help without Harry resisting as much. Where like, I feel like Harry maybe gets that it's a very like, because there was no effort beforehand. You know, he's not trying to get to know Harry. He's not trying to like, you know, kind of, you know, grease the wheels of their relationship a little bit before he's like, oh, you want some help? You know, he's like, he's just going up to the coach before the game, and he's like, hey, their goalkeeper, he's drunk. He drank last night. and then that was it. And that's the only thing he said. That's the only thing he says. He's not friends with the coach. He's not friends with anybody else on the team. He just made a bet, and he's trying to give as much intel as he can to the team beforehand or whatever. So like, I feel like a more socially skilled person would be able to help Harry out without Harry resisting in that situation.
Yeah, think about Barty Crouch Jr. versus Ludo Bagman. Barty Crouch manages to fly completely under the radar and help Harry in every aspect of the game. And
Moody is like scary. He's a scary looking person.
Yes, he manages to kind of like use this scary persona, but still help him and not get that resistance from Harry.
Yeah.
So it's, expert versus just like, him kind of bumbling around. And I also wrote down, Ludo Bagman seems to be just bad at keeping secrets. He almost spoils the Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah. They gotta wipe that poor guy's memory.
I know. He shares ministry secrets with Death Eaters. I mean, he's out here like, the only secret he seems to kind of keep is that he has a gambling problem, but even that gets pretty well exposed.
Yeah. Didn't keep that secret very well.
So he didn't keep that secret.
I mean, he's gambling with children in his first little blurb,
That's true. And that's probably my least favorite thing about him is just that he gambles with children, with Fred and George. He's rude to them, and then he never pays his debt to them. And they lost their entire life savings, and he never paid back Lee Jordan's dad. So, he's definitely affecting multiple people. It's beyond just him losing his gambling debts. I mean, he's like, there's people that are losing their money over this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
On the flip side, some of his better qualities are, I mean, maybe this is a quid pro quo. But he's generous. I mean, he gave Arthur Weasley 10 tickets to see the World Cup.
Do we know what happened to the lawnmower? Like why that situation occurred? Or is it just like a situation with a lawnmower and that's the end of it?
It seems like Otto must have cursed some sort of lawnmower to do something that it wasn't supposed to do. And you're not supposed to be bewitching Muggle artifacts because then it can get in Muggle hands, and obviously that exposes the wizarding world.
I like how they qualify a lawnmower as an artifact,
or whatever you would call item. But and I mean the other thing you gotta give Ludo credit. He was a great Quidditch player. He's supposed to be one of the best beaters ever to play for the Wimbourne Wasps. So it's not just like he's your average pro player. I mean, he's supposed to be really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, as a Wasp, he has a track record of just bumbling around, doing nothing but, that's what Wasps do. They bumble around, right?
Yeah. Do you want to know more about the Wimbourne Wasps?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, are they a good team?
Well, they've won the league 18 times. I'm not really sure how many times other teams have won, so I guess I should have pulled
like 500 years or something. Yeah.
They were founded in 1312, and their rivals are the Appleby Arrows of Northern England.
Okay. The Appleby Arrows. Are they all alliterations?
I think so, because we know like there's the Holyhead Harpies.
Oh.
We'll do a Quidditch breakdown.
Yeah, we totally knew that. Yeah, we totally knew that.
we the Harry Potter fan collective, but yeah, and we know that the uniform for the Wimbourne Wasps is the yellow and black horizontal stripes, which we see Ludo Bagman wear. They talk about him wearing at the Quidditch World Cup. And fans of the Wasps, they call themselves stingers, and they buzz loudly during games to distract the other team.
Buzz loudly. I don't know how would you buzz loudly?
I don't know. I can only buzz at a certain volume, I feel.
Yeah.
I guess collectively it's probably loud.
Well, you remember like those Vuvuzela things that were at the World Cup that one year?
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's sort of a buzzing sound, but not quite.
But and if you're looking at the illustrated books, there's only one picture for Ludo Bagman that I could find. There's one from him at the Quidditch World Cup, and you see him in his little Wimbourne Wasps outfit, which I'm very confused. When we do our Quidditch breakdown, we need to go into like fashion for Quidditch and how it differs from regular robes versus, like what does wizard clothing actually look like? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, because he's supposed to be not wearing wizard clothing, right? They're supposed to be dressed like muggles, but he's just wearing like khakis, and then the only thing that looks not normal is the robe.
Yeah, in the picture, he basically is wearing khakis with boots, and then what looks to be like a striped sweater, basically with a wasp on it, which wouldn't be that abnormal for a muggle. But then he has this basically floor length duster that's like striped black and yellow.
Yeah. No, this picture's on the wiki as well. So it was I heavily leveraged it when I was finding my my fan casts as well. I'd like to see some AI interpretations of these logos. That'd be cool to come up with a full like logo set for the Quidditch World Cup.
Yeah, the people that are making the new Max show for Harry Potter, please give us more Quidditch. We like barely got anything of the World Cup. I want to see more like the team's mascots and the uniforms. I mean, give us all the Quidditch things.
Yeah, definitely. Stick around with us until then, because then you'll be, if you're a listener now, we caught it early. We were like, listen, and especially if you're listening to this and you are on the docket to make this show, to make this HBO Max show, put the Quidditch in there. The people want the Quidditch.
Exactly. If you're a showmaker and you're listening to this podcast, which we know that you are, take our fan casting recommendations.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so that's sort of like, oh yeah, we were just doing favorite and least favorite parts. But I guess as an overall rank, I think going off of my original thing that we had with Quirrell, 1 being like the most evil person, Voldemort, 10 being like the most good person, Harry. I think I would put him at like a 4. He's not too bad. He's not really that good. He's like unwittingly helping the Death Eaters at some points. So I would put him at a 4. Not good, not bad, but he's a drain on wizarding society. I feel like not necessarily a net good.
Yeah, I guess I'd probably give him maybe a 5 or a 6. He definitely lies and loses people money, and leaks information to Death Eaters unknowingly. But he doesn't. I don't. He's not out going after people.
Yeah.
Like, for all the people. If one is Voldemort, he's not close to that, I feel, but he's not a good person,
Yeah. I wouldn't say. Yeah. I would stick with maybe I would say a 5, like a very non-impactful person at all in the grand scheme of things. Definitely not like the best person, but
yeah,
if he wasn't in this position of authority, I feel like he'd just be a regular guy, just a casual guy, probably a good guy to have a beer with or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. What do you think your favorite moment with Ludo was?
Favorite moment? I think if you've listened to this episode this far, you would kind of get that I'm not the biggest Ludo fan, especially just as a character. Like I said, to me, he wasn't that interesting of a guy. But I think the best moment I don't really have one. I mean, he's sort of like, I think that's a cop out, but I don't think he has a good. I don't think he has any really good moments. Honestly, like I think he has funny moments, like funny bad moments, but not like good moments.
Yeah, I did a funny like bad moment, not like a best moment is in like when he's being his best. A best moment, like a favorite moment for me that I thought was funny.
What did you have?
So I had was when they're at the field before the Quidditch World Cup and they're talking with the Weasleys. So Ludo's talking with the Weasleys and Harry and Hermione. He says, "Hardly a hiccup in the arrangements. Not much for me to do." And then the narrator says, behind him, a group of haggard-looking ministry members rushed past, pointing at the distant evidence of some sort of magical fire that was sending violet sparks 20 feet in the air. So I just wish we could have gotten that like in a movie or something where he's just like, oh yeah, nothing for me to do. And then literally in the background there's a giant fire.
Yeah, that definitely would have been good. I mean, if it was that sort of moment, it's definitely when he's like accepting bets from children. That'd be that's just a very, and I guess that kind of flows pretty well into my favorite quote of his though. It's going to be, "Don't be a spoil sport, Arthur," boomed Ludo Bagman, rattling his pockets excitedly. "They're old enough to know what they want." So he's I feel like he's just raring to go take any sort of, he's rattling his pockets excitedly, trying to accept bets from these probably 15
he's coercing children into making bets.
Yeah, he's like, no, don't do that. You don't be a responsible father. Let them bet.
Well, he shakes money at them.
So that would be my quote too. So,
do you have any theories about Ludo? I know he's kind of boring.
Not really. I don't think he doesn't seem like the type of guy that. So I guess going back to it, like he's an uninteresting person. He's not that great of a person. He's not that evil of a person, and I think that plays into the thing where it's like some people could have theories where he did have knowledge that Rookwood was a Death Eater. And was passing information to him knowingly, but I just don't think that fits his character as much. I think it fits more of his character where he is sort of unwittingly going about this, thinks that this will get him a job, thinks that, Rookwood is trying to this is sort of like a little job interview or whatever, for him, showing his usefulness beyond being a good Quidditch player. But ultimately, I don't think that fits his character to be that malevolent of a person to actually help Death Eaters.
I agree. I don't think that was intentional, or he thought through like the consequences of things he was saying. He just doesn't. He doesn't seem like conniving enough. He definitely kind of uses things to his benefit, but I mean, he's definitely not. He's not on the side of Voldemort, and we don't really get any indication that he's like pro pure blood.
Yeah. To that point where you said, I think he uses things to his advantage. He's doing everything like in the moment, like very haphazardly. He's just like I said earlier, it's like, he just figured out this intel about the other team and he's going to fill in the coach because he has a bet on the other team or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just like, as like we said earlier, he's just bumbling around. He's kind of just like going with the flow. Not necessarily the type of person you would want to be as a director of, your game, magical games and sport. But, that's who's in charge. And he kind of gives off of this air of like, everything will be okay or whatever, even though he's like in charge of these quite serious things.
Like when Harry's name gets pulled for the Triwizard Tournament, everyone's upset and he's just happy and he's just like, whoa, this will be interesting.
Yeah,
this will be
he's like a spectator. Bet. He's like, whoa, youngest wizard ever to win the Triwizard Tournament or whatever. But yeah, isn't this interesting? He's like, oh, plot twist.
Yes, he's with us. Where
no control of the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, he's happy. I think he just loves a good plot twist because he loves a good bet. That's going to make him the most money.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves the backdoor cover. To all those gambling fans, you know what that is. But yeah, he loves a plot twist. Because that that'll make his day. He's not worried about the integrity of the game. He's worried about like what's going to make the best moment, the best pop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Should we get into our fan casting for Ludo Bagman?
Yeah, we should. You want to start off with yours?
Well, before we start, let me just recap some of the descriptions that we're working off of for him. So what we know, Ludo Bagman is described as a powerfully built man gone slightly to seed when we're seeing him kind of like as he's older. He's got a large belly, squashed nose, probably from a bludger hitting him in the face. He's got round blue eyes, short blonde hair, a rosy complexion. They say he looks like an overgrown schoolboy. They kind of give there's kind of mentions of like childish nature. Walks like he has springs attached to his feet, like walking around kind of excitedly. And they talk about personality and looks being the opposite of Barty Crouch, who's all, structured. And as far as personality, he seems like he might be kind of dumb, friendly, talkative, charismatic. The kind of guy that people let off from going to jail because he was famous. So just get that kind of like, if that gives you a sense of what this guy might look like in your head.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Okay, so this is my first one. I think that this would be a perfect casting.
Okay.
I think he's
David Denman.
David Denman is his name. I think that he's a big guy. He's a big has a big like good frame, good athletic frame. I think he shows if you are an Office fan. If in the basketball episode, he's your typical like pickup basketball guy who's getting rebounds in the post, can make a couple shots, stuff like that. So, and I think he kind of fits the unwitting, just kind of go with the flow type character role. And I think it's specific to Roy in The Office, not necessarily because I think David Denman, he's like later in the and specifically early Roy, because later Roy he's very like, I don't want to say done up, but he's more buttoned up, he's more polished than early Roy.
Yeah, and I think he has blue eyes. Maybe, lighter hair, so he kind of fits some of that like description.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I kind of went all over the place with my people, so I'm gonna go in no particular order, and I kind of hit like different aspects of Ludo Bagman. So my first recommendation that I'm gonna share is Jack Black.
Okay.
I feel like he would be good for the more like childish nature, overgrown schoolboy, kind of got a belly. You might know Jack Black from Tropic Thunder, where he does have like short blonde hair, which kind of fits more of the character. There's other things that I feel like maybe Jack Black doesn't fit exactly, but for the like the charismatic, overly friendly, childish, like overgrown schoolboy, I feel like that really hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, no, I could really see that. Because like I think if they were recasting this movie, I feel like Jack Black would be able to hit those like dumb moments pretty well, like what you were saying with the everything's gone off without a hitch, and then there's like a fire behind you or whatever. Very like he gives off this air of like confidence, but he's doing something dumb.
Yeah.
My next one is gonna be this guy. This typical like Woody Harrelson from True Detective, where he's kind of got this beer belly going on. He's kind of got like he has a good build. He's a police officer, so he could probably handle himself in a physical altercation. But yeah, I think he would kind of, if they were kind of going more like a, not necessarily sinister, But like Woody Harrelson, he can play like the smooth talking type of guy. He can kind of play with the charismatic thing, and then he can be more of like a I feel like he could play the degenerate gambler a little bit
Yeah.
well, versus like more of a like if they wanted to go with more of a airy or jovial type guy who's just kind of like going with the flow. I feel like he could play more of the like sinister, like trying to like convince Harry to do something, and be disappointed that he didn't get it, didn't get it done or whatever.
Yeah, but he's, Woody Harrelson's played like dumber roles in like Cheers, like, and he's been in so much stuff. I mean, Hunger Games, like he could definitely handle the role because it's a big part for that whole movie or that whole book. Okay, my next recommendation is Owen Wilson. I think
Is it the nose?
The nose is definitely a big part. Sorry, Owen, I'm sure you're listening. But yeah, so Owen Wilson, kind of has an iconic asymmetrical nose. He's blonde, got, light eyes. He's pulled off kind of like the charismatic personality. You might know him from like Wedding Crashers, Starsky and Hutch, Zoolander. I mean, he's been in a ton of stuff. But yeah, I think he could definitely play. And now, he's a bit older now, so he can kind of play that older Ludo that we see where he's not, not the pro Quidditch days, but when he's older and he's department head. But yeah, Owen Wilson.
It's funny you say that because I picked his brother.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I feel like he if you kind of did a little bit more of a like give him a little of a fat suit, give him a little beer belly. I feel like he looks like an ex lacrosse player or whatever. He looks like he has a very like large frame, athletic frame, kind of lanky look to him. And if you kind of like, give him a couple months, make him drink some beer, eat some extra food, you could kind of like chunk him up a little bit and get him into a different look.
Yeah, I can see it.
So that was my third one.
Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like movies he's been in that people might know.
He was in Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
That's what my picture was from. Let me look some more. Old School.
Okay. My next recommendation is a little bit out there, so go with me on it, okay? All right. My next recommendation is Terry Bradshaw.
No, I think that's a good one.
I mean, he's a former NFL quarterback, and he's also been in movies.
Yeah.
He's obviously older, so he definitely gives the look of like someone who used to be a professional athlete is now older. He's very smiley. He's got the blonde hair, blue eye kind of look. I feel like, I mean, this would be a big role for Terry, but
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he would ever get through the role. I think he's just too much past his prime to be able to kind of like I don't think he could memorize lines. I think he's been on the set, the NFL set for too long. He's been reading from a teleprompter for too long, but I do see the vibe that you were going for. Yeah.
You see the vision. You see the appearance vision.
Yeah, definitely.
So my last recommendation is Josh Duhamel. He's been in Transformers, Safe Haven, London Calling, Shotgun Wedding. I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff. You might also know him as Fergie's ex-husband. I guess he funked with her heart. But yeah, Josh he was a college quarterback, and now he's, same thing, like he's like older, retired athlete. So I feel like he could kind of give that vibe, and he's very handsome. So I think that he gives me the vibes of someone who people wouldn't want to put in prison because he's handsome, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like this, like a jury would let him off for some heinous crimes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
definitely.
you agree with me, Calen?
Yeah, and I feel like thinking about that to the other fan casts, like nobody's gonna put Terry Bradshaw in prison. He's a funny guy. He's a great guy to hang around. Nobody's putting him in prison.
Exactly. I feel like there's something there, just people like not only being an athlete, but just being someone who you're like, oh no, he probably didn't do it, but if he
couldn't hurt
did,
anybody. Yeah, he did. He wouldn't hurt a fly.
The last thing I'll say about Ludo is I did look up Ludovic, the name meaning.
Okay.
So to see if that told us kind of anything else we might want to know about the character. According to thebump.com, the name Ludovic means famous warrior or famous fighter. So I think that kind of goes with like, being he basically is like, that's half his personality. There's the gambling problem and then the being a famous beater. So I feel like famous warrior, famous fighter really goes in line with that. I saw some Reddit threads about his name and Bagman having like associations with gambling or
I saw that too.
Moving money with illicit activities. So maybe there's something there too with either the Bagman or maybe also Ludo, but I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, miraculous that if you're a beater, honestly, any Quidditch player, if you're a Quidditch player and you're flying around the field with a 10-pound iron ball and you only come away with a broken nose, somewhat disfigured nose, that's good. That's a win.
Or maybe he is concussed, and that's why he doesn't make the best of decisions.
Man, and honestly, if you're concussed and if you're alive and you come off that field with a 10-pound iron ball, that's a miracle. But yeah, so that's Ludo. That's old Ludo for us.
That's it for old Ludo.
Yep, that's it for old Ludo. Thanks for joining us on this magical journey through the Wizarding World. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion on Ludo Bagman. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please share the magic with your friends and fellow Potterheads if you think they'll enjoy it. Next week, we're going to be doing a special episode on Animagi. You definitely don't want to miss that. And until then, happy reading, happy listening, and may your Patronus always be strong.